I am Lisa, 38 years old, a single mother living in a small apartment complex in the suburbs. My life isn't anything extraordinary. I go to work during the day, take care of my 8-year-old son in the evening, and spend weekends doing housework or watching an old movie. I have been divorced for 3 years, and since then, I haven't seriously considered dating. Not because I don't want to, but simply because I don't have time, or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. My apartment is on the 3rd floor, directly across from James's apartment. James is around 42, a tall, ruggedly handsome man with a friendly demeanor. He jogs every morning and greets everyone with a gentle smile. I don't know much about his personal life, only that he works in finance and lives alone. Or at least, that's what I had assumed. That night was just another ordinary Saturday night. I had finished my household chores, my son was asleep, and I decided to reward myself with a glass of red wine. As I settled onto the sofa, savoring the rare quiet of the evening, I heard a strange sound from the apartment across the hall. At first, I thought it was just the television, but gradually, the sounds became clearer. Something that didn't quite sound like a movie. Curious, I stood up and walked toward the window. Light from James's apartment seeped through the gap in his curtains. And while I wasn't the type to intrude on someone else's privacy, my curiosity got the best of me. I gently pulled down my own curtain, just enough to see inside. At that moment, my heart nearly stopped. James wasn't alone. I saw him standing in the middle of his living room, accompanied by a woman, long dark hair, an alluring figure. They stood close, laughing together, and then suddenly James pulled her in. A deep, passionate kiss. I gasped, feeling as though I had just trespassed on something intensely private. I should have looked away, but my eyes remained locked on the scene before me. Not because I was jealous, I had no reason to be, but maybe, just maybe, because I had forgotten what it felt like to be desired by someone. Since my divorce, I had dedicated my entire life to my son and my job, pushing aside my own needs and emotions. And now, through this small gap in the window, I was reminded of a part of life I had deliberately ignored. This could have been the end of it, if not for the moment James's eyes suddenly met mine. Through the window, he turned unexpectedly and caught me staring. My breath hitched, my heart pounding wildly. But what surprised me even more was James's reaction. He didn't look annoyed, didn't frown or seem uncomfortable. Instead, he smiled a knowing, almost teasing smile. I immediately shut my curtain, feeling my face flush with heat. Why did he smile like that? Did he know I had been watching for longer than I should have? And more importantly, why was my heart still racing? From that night on, my weekends were never the same. I couldn't stop thinking about James, about what I had seen, about his mysterious smile. I knew it was ridiculous, but every time I ran into him, I felt my heart race just a little faster. One Sunday morning, as I was returning from the grocery store, I saw James in the hallway. He was carrying a few bags, and as we reached the elevator at the same time, he smiled at me. "Morning, Lisa," he said, his voice smooth and deep. I hesitated before replying, "Good morning, James." The elevator door closed, and for the first time, we were alone together in a small enclosed space. The air between us felt different, charged with something unspoken. I could feel his presence beside me, close enough that the warmth of his body reached my skin. Then, just as the elevator began to move, one of my grocery bags slipped from my hand. Instinctively, James bent down at the same time as I did, and for a brief moment, our hands touched. The contact was simple, fleeting, but it sent a jolt through me. When our eyes met, I saw something in his gaze, something that mirrored the emotions swirling inside me. "Let me help you," he murmured, his fingers brushing against mine as he handed me the fallen can of tomatoes. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice barely audible. The elevator chimed, signaling that we had reached our floor. As we stepped out, James hesitated for a moment, as if he wanted to say something more. But instead, he gave me one last lingering look before walking to his apartment. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about that brief moment in the elevator. It was nothing, just a touch, just a glance. But for the first time in years, I felt something awaken inside me. Something I wasn't sure I was ready to face. As the week passed, I found myself paying more attention to James. I noticed the way he moved, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. And every time our paths crossed, there was an unspoken tension between us, a silent question hanging in the air. Then one evening, as I was taking out the trash, I saw him standing on his balcony, looking in my direction. Our eyes met, and instead of looking away, he raised his glass in a silent toast. I hesitated for only a moment before doing the same, and in that simple exchange, I knew something had shifted between us. I woke up in the middle of the night, feeling his steady breath beside me. The room was pitch dark, with only the streetlight casting faint streaks across the ceiling through the curtains. My body still carried the warmth from the moments we had just shared, but my mind began to race. What had just happened between us, between him and me, kept replaying in my head. When I turned to look at him, I couldn't help but ask myself, do I truly understand him? Do I really see him for who he is? The man I had secretly watched for months through a small window now lay next to me. No longer a vague image but a real person, breathing softly in his sleep. Yet, despite his closeness, there seemed to be an invisible distance between us. There was something about him that I hadn't yet grasped. I gently sat up, pulling the blanket over me, trying not to wake him. My eyes wandered over to his desk. His room, always unnervingly neat, lacked any signs of daily life, no family photos, no personal belongings indicating this was truly where he lived. At that moment, I realized there were things I had overlooked before, but now I couldn't ignore it. I stood up, walking over to his desk. The faint glow of his laptop screen reflected a soft blue light. Without thinking, I found myself drawn to it, unable to resist. On the screen was an email still open, unfinished. The subject line made my heart stop. Everything is ready. We need to finish this by the end of this weekend. This weekend. Today was Friday. My breath caught as I read the message, disjointed texts, strange names, and numbers I couldn't make sense of. They were fragments of an enigma, pieces of a story I had never known. I turned to look at him. Now he wasn't just a man. He was someone holding secrets I couldn't yet understand. For the first time, I realized I was no longer just an observer. I was part of this story. Was I ready to face the truth? Should I wake him up and ask about what I had just discovered? Or should I keep quiet and pretend nothing had happened? Fear and curiosity swirled inside me, making it hard to decide. I stood there frozen, looking at him, then back at the laptop screen. Outside, the night continued on, peaceful, as if nothing had changed. But inside me, everything was shifting. A mystery greater than I had ever imagined was being kept hidden, and I had to figure out how to uncover it.